One of the things that I really felt in my heart for years, probably those 20-something years, that I was meant to help my people in the island spiritually. And I said, why, if I feel so ready to do this, I have been preparing for years, I know there's a need, and I'm being sent out of the island to rally. Of course, it was our decision, but it just felt that we were just kicked out, right? And her words were, well, people are not receptive for your message now, and you're not completely ready. Guy I had never seen, well, I had seen, casually here. He walked in and he said, I really feel that you're ready to have a radio show in Spanish in the local station here. And I was like, well, okay, sure. I tend to be daring and outgoing, so I'm like, if this is supposed to happen, it's going to happen. And it happened. And shortly after that show went on in the air, somehow the opportunity of having the same show be aired in Puerto Rico took place. And not only that it took place, but it was like the #1 station in the island. And it's a longer story how that happened. 3 weeks ago, I went home for the first time, like on a spiritual journey, on a spiritual tour. So I was supposed to speak in 2 Unity churches. I was offering 3 workshops, and the radio folks in the island told me, we really would like for you to do a live show, an hour long, and take calls. And I was touched to see or hear people going, you kept us together during the hurricane. It was, I had no idea that for many weeks, it was like 2 stations working. So it's not that I had a daily show, but at least probably like a couple of weeks on a Monday night, I was it. And at that very moment, when I'm hearing all of that and seeing how people were so supportive of my works, of my talks and everything, I went back to that moment in which my teacher has said, they're not ready, they're not receptive. And I started looking back, wow, how perfect, divine order that in April of 2017, my show goes on the air, and then in September, the hurricane hits. So it's like I'm being set up in a space to support people spiritually at the moment where they were going to be as receptive as you can be, right? And there I am with my message available, which really reinforced the idea that God does things much better than us, and that God always exceeds our expectations. If you're in unity, you are a thinker, you're a seeker, you have questioned a lot of things, so you have probably the level of awareness to help create a shift in this island. Because anything that we see out there is the result of our thinking. And collective thinking will lead to a collective reality. Don't underestimate how powerful your consciousness can be. How do I start? Where do I start? And this is part of what I offered in the workshop. And I'm going to show you something that I created. I created in Spanish and then English the prosperity framework. And as you see that image, I must say that I feel that this is like my contribution in the spiritual world. I think this is going to be my life work because it's what I resonate a lot with. And if I'm going to show you the next slide, and you're going to see my framework here. It all starts with practice. The spiritual practice leads to a purity of heart, will anchor you on a life of service, creating a sense of spiritual wellness. And that is what really prosperity is. It's a state of spiritual wellness. And when you and I are in that state, everything else in our lives, it's impacted accordingly. Our relationships, our health, our economics. And then that's how we actually impact the collective, you see? But the reason why I'm bringing this up is for you want you to see that the spiritual practice has like a, larger space, because it's where everything starts and ends, right? So whatever we're seeing out there, at some level, we are part of it, right? We want to see shift. Let's practice. Let's work on that. It's like the pianist, the athletes, in order to master their skill, they practice, right? So if you and I were spiritual beings, we need to practice too. I was asked what's the best spiritual practice? And what came to my heart was the one that makes you keep going to it, that you want to do out of passion and love. That prosperity comes when you and I are in a level of spiritual wellness. How can I stay pure? How can I stay anchored in the heart? And I'm going to give you 5 wonderful steps from Dr. Marsha in one of her works. So I'm like, I'm keeping this. So the first one is forgiving. Second one is a big one, surrendering. Third one being ingratitude. Fourth one, which I think it's a big one, and I don't think we do much of that in Unity. It's really expressing devotion. And then last but not least, and I think I almost see that it's like the byproduct of the first 4, when you're in forgiveness, in surrendering, in gratitude, in a devotional state, you want to reach out to others in newer ways. If we really want to impact our society, our world, our country, it really, it's our that awareness of God in everything, so that it supports the purity of the heart. And that purity will lead to a life of service and will touch everything else.